Long before mixed martial arts became a highly corporate, mainstream sport broadcasted into millions of homes worldwide, Chuck Liddell was its definitive savior. With his instantly recognizable mohawk haircut, traditional kenpo tattoos, and ice-cold demeanor, he naturally possessed the look of a cinematic anti-hero. Chuck did not need flashy promotional gimmicks or forced trash talk to attract crowds. His sheer presence inside the octagon signaled an immediate promise of violent entertainment. He emerged at a critical time in sports history, successfully carrying the expanding Ultimate Fighting Championship directly on his broad shoulders. Whenever the Iceman walked out to the cage under the flashing arena lights, fans knew exactly what they were going to witness: an absolute war. He became the very first mainstream superstar of the organization, transforming a niche underground combat event into an absolute global phenomenon that captured the public's imagination. What made Chuck Liddell an absolute nightmare for opponents and a beloved icon for fans was his highly revolutionary fighting system. While he possessed an elite background as a Division I collegiate wrestler at Cal Poly, he almost never utilized his grappling offensively. Instead, Chuck perfected the legendary sprawl and brawl strategy, using his exceptional wrestling credentials defensively to keep his fights standing up where he could unleash chaos. He completely neutralized the sport's greatest takedown artists, refusing to be held down on the canvas against his own will. Once his opponents realized they could not bring him down, panic would inevitably set in as they were forced to trade punches. Chuck stood firmly in the pocket with absolute confidence, relying on his iron chin and a terrifyingly unorthodox striking style that allowed him to fire devastating, looping shots from angles that caught everyone off guard. The absolute cornerstone of Chuck's legendary fighting legacy was the terrifying, fight-ending power hidden tightly inside his right hand. He did not possess the traditional, clean boxing technique of a textbook pugilist, often throwing wide, looping overhands that looked almost careless. However, his timing, placement, and spatial awareness were so incredibly precise that he could put anyone to sleep with a fraction of an inch of clean contact. He was a master of the counter-punch, frequently baiting his aggressive opponents into moving forward before delivering a lightning-fast knockout blow. The moment Chuck's right hand connected flush with an opponent's jawline, the fight was instantly over, sending bodies crashing heavily to the canvas. That signature single-punch power turned his bouts into highly unpredictable thrillers, as he could completely alter reality at any given second. The true golden greatness of Chuck's iconic career was definitively forged in the fires of some of the most historic rivalries of all time. His legendary, multi-fight sagas against Hall of Fame icons like Randy, the Natural, Couture and Tito Ortiz defined an entire generation of combat. These high-stakes battles were not just standard athletic contests. They were massive cultural events that elevated the UFC into a premier pay-per-view powerhouse. His intense, bitter rivalry against his former training partner Tito Ortiz captured the absolute height of MMA drama during the early 2000s. Chuck repeatedly silenced the charismatic Ortiz by delivering spectacular, brutal knockouts that sent shockwaves through the packed arenas. These historic victories solidified his absolute dominance over the division, proving that he was the undisputed king of the light heavyweights during the sport's most competitive era. The absolute pinnacle of Chuck's professional fighting career occurred between 2005 and 2007 when he ruled the light heavyweight division as champion. He captured the prestigious UFC championship belt by knocking out Randy Couture in spectacular fashion at UFC 52, launching a historic reign at the top. He defended his crown successfully against the absolute best contenders in the world, brutally knocking out everyone who dared to challenge his throne. During this golden championship run, Chuck became a true pop culture icon, appearing on major television shows, magazine covers, and Hollywood movies. He carried himself outside the cage with a quiet, approachable humility that made him incredibly endearing to millions of regular sports fans. On a stage filled with massive egos, the Iceman remained a true fighter's fighter, always ready to step inside the octagon to put his legendary title directly on the line. When Chuck Liddell finally stepped away from active competition, he left behind an absolutely immortal legacy that helped shape the modern sports landscape. He was rightfully inducted into the prestigious UFC Hall of Fame, ensuring that his monumental contributions will forever be remembered by history. He entered the fighting world as a gritty martial artist from California and left it as one of the most influential pioneers to ever lace up a pair of gloves. Future generations of mixed martial artists will continually study his legendary sprawl and brawl blueprint, trying in vain to replicate his unique timing. He showed the world that a fighter could become a global superstar through raw authenticity, exciting finishes, and an unbreakable warrior spirit. The legendary Iceman has officially hung up his gloves, but his iconic post-fight celebration silhouette remains permanently etched into the eternal history of combat sports.